A question to my fellow mixed race peeps out there. When did you realize that your white parent should have never had children of color? I'll go first. My mother has three children of color. I'm the youngest, and the like turning point, like a lot of stuff that's happened when I was younger, I didn't realize it was problematic until I got older. But this one hit me straight in the face. Um, my sister, her kids, and my mom and I, we were on our way to go see my grandmother. My mom's radio station went to commercial. I changed it to the hip hop station of our town. She then proceeds to slam her hand on the radio to try to change it and said, and I quote, "I'm not listening to that nigger shit." You realize that your white parent should have never had children of color?
I've sat here and reached out this so many times because there's so many moments where I sat down and really had to be like, my mom should have never had a black child. But even then, like when somebody asked me this question, there's so many moments where I like look back on my childhood and realize, damn, maybe, I wish shit had gone different. But the story that stuck out in my head, actually, I had recorded my mother telling this story just because she's told this story to multiple people. She brags about it and it's insane. I specifically remember the time that I had recorded it. So I was with my white family for Christmas. But my uncle's a raging Trump supporter, but he's like one of those white dudes that was like a college dropout and then was a libertarian and now is like kind of an alt-right supporter or whatever. But arguing with him is impossible, and making his jaw drop at blatant racism is even harder, and my mother managed to do this. We're all sitting around the table. It's in between that like awkward lunch dinner time where like everybody's eating cookies and snacks. She starts talking about her black friends.
When did you realize that your white parent should have never...
Okay, so I'm adopted from Ethiopia. I grew up in a pretty big family. Seven of my siblings are also adopted from other countries, and we have two white moms. And so there was this one time I was in 11th grade, and I was sitting on the couch. My mom comes in, and she goes, "Please don't be offended by what I'm about to ask you, but, like, I really want to know." And I'm like, okay, what is it that you want to know? Then she proceeds to ask me, why is it that you feel so strongly for the Black Lives Matter movement when technically you aren't a part of the group? And I was confused, so I would go, what do you mean by that? And she says, well, you don't have ancestors that were slaves, and you're also adopted from another country, and you have a white parent. And then she goes on to say, and if reparations were even going to be a thing, you wouldn't be getting any. So why do you fight so hard? And honestly, after that, I'm not even going to lie, like, my heart hurt a little bit because I just couldn't understand why my mom, regardless of her race, would not get that.
When did you realize that your white parent should have never had...
This is a great question that I feel like needs to be talked about more. I would say I first realized when my mom told me that her grandparents wrote her a letter when she started dating black men saying that she should not be in an interracial relationship and they were going to disown her and she shouldn't have mixed kids. And I distinctly remember her saying, you know, I think my grandparents were right. So obviously that shit hurt because I took that as, so you regret having us. And she didn't give any explanation. I just remember being like, why would you say that? And crying. Other times I realized was when I had to consistently stand up for myself as a child against racism from my own family. And she would tell me to keep the peace and stop starting arguments instead of telling them to not be racist.
When did you realize that your white parent should have never had...
When did I realize that my white parents should have never adopted black children? I realized it when my mom didn't understand why I wanted to join a historically black sorority. I learned it when I thought about all the times I was told that my parents don't see color. I learned it when my parents' biological son / my brother told me that I only got my scholarship to college because I'm black. And I learned it when I remembered growing up that when I would get in trouble, my parents would tell me to shut my cotton picking mouth. So yeah, if you're gonna have children of color, you need to educate yourself a lot better because now I'm suffering from trauma and trying to heal. And it's not fair whatsoever for any black child to have to go through these things.
When did you realize that your white parent should have never...
I don't know who's gonna see this because my videos keep getting deleted for hate speech when I'm just speaking truth. But let me give you a quick description about my background. So my mom is Russian, she's from Moscow. She was born and moved here pregnant with me when she was 23. My dad is Ethiopian, he still lives there. Long story short, they met in London, headed off and conceived me, and my mom moved to California alone. My dad, never been a part of my life. But let me tell you about the time that I realized my mom should have never had me and that I don't fucking belong here. Around the time the quarantine started in March 2020, the whole police brutality thing was going on. So at the time, I was talking to this dark-skinned guy. One day I asked my mom if he could come over again because he's come over before. And my mom had the nerve to ask me this. She asked me if that's someone I would actually want to have kids with. First of all, who the fuck said anything about kids? I was 17. But I said, but you had me with my dad. And she said, that's because I knew you were going to be a mulatto baby. You would be turning our family into that because you're already mixed.
You realize that your white parent should have never had children of color?
First off, I love my family. I'm so grateful for being adopted and having a second chance at life. There is no doubt about that. But I think there are some things that they really should have reconsidered saying and doing for their children. So my adopted parents already had 2 biological children, and then they adopted 3 black kids from Africa, my sister and I, and then a 3rd one from Liberia. You know how when people have babies to save a marriage? That's kind of how I felt when it came to us being adopted. It did not work. But like a lot of my past videos that people have seen, none of us know anything about our homeland, our culture, no connections to family, meh. But my biggest problem was the fact that my dad always seemed to use us as trophies. Whenever we got introduced to somebody, there was always this weird long moment where he was just telling the entire story of how he went to go get us. When high school came, all he did was boast about my black brother because he was in football. Never boasted about his biological children. When asked why he adopted kids, his answer was always, I just wanted to add in some color.
Did you realize that your white parent should have never had children of color?
Please forgive the look, I got excited about this one. So, in the 60s, after my dad got kicked out of the military for being gay, his mother said to him, why don't you go to Vietnam where there's about to be a war and you can save someone from that war-torn hellhole that is Vietnam and bring her to America where she will put up with your lifestyle and have your children for you while you bang all the men you want under her nose because she doesn't have hopes or dreams or expectations or expect trust and honesty from her relationship. She's not even a real person. And I put up with all of that racism for my whole life until she died.
Oh, you're my best friend. You're always in my mind. Let's dance to the rhythm of your heartbeat. Dance with me. 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 I love the way you move. Every step is special. Let me say the truth. I love your expressions. You're never bad news, always a blessing. Let's walk to the moon like we're Michael Jackson. Let me see your hands in the air. Together let's move like we just don't care. Nobody can take away the things we share. Hope you don't mind how I need you like the air. Let me see your hands in the air. Together let's move like we just don't care. Nobody can take away the things we share. Hope you don't mind how I need you like the air. The way I love you, they don't understand. And it's crazy how you're my best friend. You're always in my mind. Let's dance to the rhythm of your heartbeat. The way I love you, they don't understand. And it's crazy how you're my best friend. You're always in my mind. Let's dance to the rhythm of your heartbeat. Dance with me. 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 Oh my love, can you dance with me?